Welcome to this edition of the Life Vision Project. Today I have the privilege of interviewing a third-generation chiropractor who currently practices in Pennsylvania with his twin sister. He is also the co-founder of 8 Weeks to Wellness, an exceptional wellness program that has been developed not only in their chiropractic offices, but in offices across the United States. Our guest today, Dr. Dane Donohue. Welcome, Dane.
Thank you so much for having me, Shields. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I know it's going to be pretty exciting.
It's certainly a pleasure to have you with me. So let's get right to it. How did you develop and implement your 8 Weeks to Wellness program, and why did you choose to do that?
You know, I guess growing up in a chiropractic family, to me, Gilles, that chiropractic was always a lifestyle. And it seems to have morphed into a procedure or a treatment. It's not the way that I saw chiropractic growing up. We have 12 members of my family that are chiropractors. I have uncles and cousins and my twin sister and my dad and my grandfather, his brothers. I have chiropractors all over the place. So when we would get together at family functions, we were talking chiropractic. And, we were talking about chiropractic as a lifestyle. We were talking about chiropractic in a preventative role. And that's just what I knew growing up. And when I got into practice, I was a little bit disillusioned, to be honest, with the whole third-party payer system, that chiropractic had really become a treatment, or chiropractic had always been about the adjustment and not about the lifestyle. And to me, chiropractic is a lifestyle. It's not about the adjustment, or it's not just about treating symptoms, obviously. It's about teaching people this lifestyle that will enhance the quality of their life, and I believe extend the quality of their life if they learn a model that's going to teach them to eat well and in a chiropractic context, and to think well in a chiropractic context, and to move well in a chiropractic context, and to get adjusted. So getting adjusted is a part of a healthy lifestyle, but it's a part of a healthy lifestyle. And I think as chiropractors, we have to take the responsibility and accept that moral responsibility that we have to teach our patients what to do once they leave the office.
It's obviously an important part, because even if we look at the definition of doctor, we know that the definition of doctor is teacher. And
Absolutely.
So what you're telling me is that you've taken that role of doctor really seriously.
Absolutely. And it comes from the Latin word docere, which means teacher. And so, there has to be an educational process. But again, another thing I got frustrated with, Dr. Gilles, after about 10 years of practice, when we started really thinking about this idea of implementing and creating a wellness program, a chiropractic wellness program with chiropractic as the foundation, was the fact that there was no operational system for patients to follow. And I think in this time that we're in, where people have such limited focus and limited time, if you don't map out a very easy, implementable system for people to eat well and to move well and to think well, it doesn't get done. Like, one of the things I would always give people sheets on, here's how to eat, here's how to do some exercise at home, here's what you should be doing. And lo and behold, maybe the top 5% of patients have the personal discipline to do it, but the other patients, they'll get thrown in their back seat and nothing gets done. So how do you create a system that actually people get done what they know to get done? Or as I like to say, common sense needs to become common practice.
Yeah, because what we know for sure is that common sense is not quite as common as it used to be. So when you create a system that allows it to become common practice, then the results are obviously achieved. Now,
Absolutely.
I know that as part of your system, you've developed an objective testing or an objective scale that I think you call the wellness score. Can you share a little bit more about that with our audience?
It was very important to me. Again, growing up in a chiropractic family, I saw the outcomes in our family of what this chiropractic lifestyle did to our overall health and our physiology. I saw the fact that we were just healthier than the average family. We weren't taking medications for chronic problems. We weren't going to the doctor or the hospital. We were a healthy family, and it's because of the way we lived our life. So I thought it was very important to, we talk about telling the story, Dr. Gilles. We got to just get out and tell the story. And I think it's if you can show people the story, it's a lot more effective than telling them the story. That's why testimonials are so critical, because if people can see it in somebody else, they can see it in themselves. And so I wanted to show them objectively, we have this, whether you like it or not, we have this system where people go to the doctor, they get tests done, their blood pressure, their cholesterol, and then they they find out what the problem is, and then they have a procedure. And I'm like, well, why can't we measure physiology as well as the medical doctor, except we're going to have a different problem-solving strategy than giving people drugs and surgery. We're going to teach them how to change these physiological abnormal parameters with a healthy chiropractic lifestyle, through getting adjusted, through nutrition, through proper movement. And the beautiful thing is, now doing this for 13 years, and now in over 80 clinics, we have so much objective proof now. This isn't what I think. This is literally showing people, listen, this is your cholesterol. It's come down 50 points in 8 weeks, right? This is your body composition. Your BMI went from 33 to 29 in 8 weeks. So I think that the critical thing is being able to objectively measure these things and show people changes. It really builds the confidence in them that, hey, you know what? I don't have to take this statin for the rest of my life if I don't want to, and the side effects that go along with that. I can change this physiological abnormal parameter with a healthy chiropractic lifestyle.
So obviously, the 8 Weeks to Wellness program is part of your life vision as to what you can bring to the world. How would you describe your professional life vision?
My personal life vision, Dr. Gilles, my personal statement of how I live my life is, who you are speaks so loudly that I can't hear what you say. And so I want to go out, and this is my 25th year of practice, I can't believe it, but I want to go out and just be a role model for other chiropractors of the way I live my life, and the way I run my practice, and the way I treat my staff, and the way I show up in my marriage, and the way I show up for my kids. And I get tingles when I talk about this, but my life vision is to show people that it's possible to have a great life in chiropractic. It's possible to help your patients. It's possible to make money without having to be beholden to insurance companies. It's possible to have a great marriage and a balanced life if you're running a business. All of these things are possible. But I do think that people need mentors, and I think that people need coaches to help show them the way. I wouldn't be where I am in my life without the great mentors that I've had, one of them being you, to not just tell me what to do, but I've learned always the best by looking at what people do, and also looking what people do that I don't want. When you see the outcomes for certain chiropractors, you say, boy, I can learn from what not to do, because that didn't turn out so well. But then I can also look at, this is the way this guy runs his practice. This is the way this guy shows up in his marriage. This is the way this guy shows up in marketing or what have you. And my goal, my life vision is to basically amalgamate all these beautiful best practices into my life to make my life great.
I love what you're saying there, and as it relates to mentorship, et cetera. And I know that when I discovered, or went towards discovering, my professional life vision, I visited countless offices. I discovered what I did not want to do, how I did not want to practice, as you mentioned, and I discovered how I did. So I collected all this information, and of course found myself a fantastic mentor. How did you discover your professional life vision? I understand you were born and raised in a chiropractic family, but still, you have your truths, your professional life vision that you've developed. How did you discover that?
That's a great question. I think it naturally unfolded. Like you said, you go out and you see what's possible, and I knew for me, that chiropractic was a calling. It wasn't, I had people in my class in chiropractic college that looked up what were the best professions, who made the most money, and that's how they made their decision to get into chiropractic. And that wasn't me. It was a natural decision for me to see, my uncle and my dad and how much they enjoyed their work, So, I think it naturally evolved as I wanted to be in a profession where I felt I made a difference. I've subsequently learned the greatest happiness in the world comes from service. I didn't always know that. I really didn't. I thought the greatest happiness came from serving Dane Donohue, but now I've learned the greatest happiness comes from serving other people, your family and your patients and your employees. And so I think it just naturally evolved that I wanted to live a life of service, because that's where happiness comes from. Now, if I've learned that if I show up big, and I'm not going to show up big every day, but if I show up the best I can every day and serve, the natural outcome of that is happiness and money and, personal success and all the things that go along with that. But I think, arriving at my core focus and my core vision of my life was just to wanting to live a life of service.
And I, like you, was fortunate enough to discover that early on in my career. Loving service, my first technique, was a line that my mentor used. You know, when I came to Life University, I discovered the concept of lasting purpose, to give, do, love, and serve from this sense of abundance. And I was like, loving service, my first technique. I mean, different words, but exactly what what I was being described to me in the past was what we described to our students and to others that come to Life Vision, obviously, that a life of service is really the key to living an exceptional life. Now, that being said, every once in a while, as we grow into our Life Vision, there's no doubt that, you know, we may have fear interfere a little bit. We may face a roadblock, some level of adversity. When a fear shows up in your life, or when a fear in the past has shown up, or where you faced a blockage, an adverse situation, how do you deal with those fears and adverse situations?
You know, I think that's where the mentorship and the coaching comes in. I think, you know, you have to understand what fear is. Fear just is uncertainty. You know, it's not having the answer to a problem that's confronting you at that point in time, right? So I think, again, that's where having a mentor to discuss these fears with, and again, the mnemonic for fear is false evidence appearing real. Most of the time, the fear is unwarranted. You know, there's no, you know, one of my favorite books, and I don't know if you've ever read it, but I read it every single year, is The Four Agreements. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I love The Four Agreements, but one of the agreements is to not make assumptions, right? And I think one of the things that you know, is probably one of my biggest flaws is making assumptions about what things mean, right? And when we make assumptions, we're generally wrong, right? So I think the first is to question the fear and say, is this really a fear? You know, or am I making an assumption about something that's probably incorrect? And I think 80% of the time, I'm making an incorrect assumption. The second thing is that, okay, let's say it is a real problem, a real fear. Well, then you got to go about solving it, right? And so, you know, where does that come from? That comes from, again, looking out. If there's a problem, there's somebody that's probably solved that problem, right? And probably somebody that has the answer to that problem that you currently don't have. So I think it's having humility, Dr. Gilles, to say I don't have all the answers, but I know that I can probably go out within my network of people where I may have to pay for this, go out and find somebody who is an expert in that area and get their advice and maybe even have to pay for it. And they may have a solution to the problem that I'm being confronted with that's creating the fear in my life. Now, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. So I would say if you're getting confronted with the same fears, right, over and over again, and the same problems over and over again, it's only because you haven't learned to solve them.
And what if we chose to see the word fear with a new mnemonic that I read a few months back, was face everything and rise, right? A new mnemonic. And mentorship offers that, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know?
So can you think of an adverse situation that you faced in your life and describe it, something you feel comfortable describing to an audience, and then share how you actually overcame that adversity?
It's a great question. I'll tell you something I'm dealing with right now. You know, I love practice. I worked in my office yesterday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I took an hour off for lunch, and I was at my adjusting table for, 12 hours to 11 hours. I love it. I absolutely love taking care of people, and I love serving because I just feel like that's my God-given calling. One of my challenges right now is I love 8 Weeks to Wellness, and I love working with doctors to teach them this operational system of how do you operationalize wellness within your practice. One of my biggest challenges, it's like chasing two rabbits, right? You know the story. You can't chase two rabbits. You got to chase one to catch one. So, a big challenge for me is how do I create a system where I still can do what I love and still do what I love, which is coaching chiropractors, which is a lot like coaching patients. You're just trying to help people overcome challenges. And so, the way that I've overcome that is that, I've had to make tough decisions. I practice 2 days a week, and I work on 8 Weeks to Wellness 3 days a week. I travel a lot. Now we're in the UK and Canada and the US. So, it requires me to get on planes and go speak at seminars and things like that. So, it's just having the resources to say, okay, these are the two priorities in my life. And I always have believed that your schedule should reflect your priorities, right? So for me, I know I only have 168 hours in a week. It's 24 times 7. And, if I'm sleeping 7 hours a night, which is generally what I like to sleep, I generally have about 120 waking hours. I get to choose how I choose to spend that 120 hours. And what I do is I like to look at my priorities and schedule according to my priorities. So what are my priorities? My priorities are 8 weeks to wellness. My priorities are my family. My priorities are my practice and my employees. And I try to, and it's why I don't golf a lot anymore, Dr. Shields. It's not that I don't love to golf. It's just when I looked at the priorities of my life of what is going to make me the proudest and the happiness, I knew my passion wasn't to be a PGA golfer. It just wasn't going to happen, So I had to say, okay, that 8-10 hours that I was spending golfing, I have to reprioritize that because I just don't have it. If I put it there, then this is going to suffer. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think it's like part of it for me is overcoming the challenge is just to prioritize your time and your schedule and prioritize it according to those things that really mean something in your life and the challenges that you're facing in those areas.
Share how you personally live 8 weeks to wellness. Because I know that if we want to create anything of great value, we must become that value, correct? And I know that before we started recording, you said you were, right after this, you're ready to go do a workout. So how do you personally live this concept of 8 weeks to wellness for Dr. Dane so you can be a living example to everyone that you encounter as to the value of making those commitments? And secondary to that question, how do you maintain your commitment to yourself?
So great question. The key word there is commitment, right? So for me personally, I think that if you were to take a look at a person's schedule, Dr. Shields, and a person's checkbook register, you're going to find out what's important to them. Because I truly believe in my heart, the way you spend your time, the way you spend your resources, such as money, is the true measure of what's important to you. You may, people say a lot of stuff, and in chiropractic, you hear all this stuff, right? And when you filter it down, there's what I call positive illusion. There's reality, and there's what you want reality to be. And the two may not match up, and I think that's where you have confusion in your life. So you may say, I want to live the chiropractic lifestyle, and I want to work out, and I want to eat paleo, and I want to be able to meditate and spend some time on my thought life. And then the reality is are you really doing it, right? So for me, it comes down to scheduling. And one of the things I tell my doctors and I tell my patients the same thing, again, a motto that's really served me is that which gets scheduled gets done.
Yes.
Okay? If it's not in your schedule, it's probably not getting done on a regular basis. Okay? I can ask you, Dr. Shields, when did you brush your teeth today? Probably the same time you did it yesterday.
6 a.m.
6 a.m., right? I juice every single morning. Every morning. You know why? Because if it gets done every morning I'm going to juice. Okay? I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. It's the same times and the same day every single week. So it's scheduled and it becomes a natural rhythm, an unconscious rhythm. So in 8 weeks to wellness, you asked me about how do I live the 8 weeks to wellness lifestyle. Well, first of all, it's a very doable lifestyle. There's getting adjusted. I get adjusted every Wednesday. Got adjusted yesterday. Every Wednesday happens every Wednesday. I don't have to say, I missed my adjustment because I know every single Wednesday I'm getting adjusted. I know exactly when I'm working out. So exercise, and the cool thing about 8 weeks to wellness, it's all in a chiropractic context. So I exercise chiropractically. I exercise for posture and mobility, not just so I can have big biceps. The third thing is nutrition. We eat, in 8 weeks to wellness, we teach people a paleo-Mediterranean diet. What does that mean? We want them eating paleo, and we want them to eat a Mediterranean diet. And what is that? It's simply eating healthy ingredients, healthy foods, good proteins, get the grains and sugars out of your diet, include healthy fats, fish oil, nuts, seeds, avocado. So I live in an 8 weeks to wellness lifestyle. I eat 4 or 5 times a day. I do a meal replacement shake every day because it's easy and convenient. I make one up for my wife and I. So the nutrition, my wife does dinner. I do breakfast every morning. Every morning I make breakfast for my family. I make a healthy breakfast. I juice. And so I'm responsible for breakfast. My wife is responsible for dinner, and we kind of, we do our own thing for lunch. The other thing is massage. Massage is a part of 8 Weeks to Wellness. I get a monthly full body massage. Sometimes if I can throw in an extra one, I will. And then the last thing is my thought life. And I think this is the most important. The 5 tenets of 8 Weeks to Wellness: chiropractic, exercise, nutrition, massage, and then we call it your mindfulness. Every morning, Dr. Gilles, I get up at 5 a.m. And I have to tell you, I look forward to it. It's not like, I got to hit the alarm clock and get out of bed. I have these 4 books, and they just happen to be right here, that I'm reading right now. And every morning I get up at 5 a.m. and I love this time of year because I light a fire and I get a cup of tea, right? And I sit with my dogs and I read and I journal and I reflect and I create my life the way I want it to be. And that's why I meditate, and I think about, okay, I am in control of my thoughts, and my thoughts are going to create my behaviors. So how do I want to think? How do I want to show up? And I love to read because it is an opportunity for me to connect with principles and ideas that are going to make me a better human being. So that's kind of my I think that which gets scheduled gets done. So if I were to ask you, when do you devote time to your thought life? When do you devote time to nutrition? When do you devote time to your exercise? When do you get adjusted? And is it part of a natural rhythm that's set up every week?
I would tell you that mine is. It was interesting when you pulled out your 4 books, because I don't have my 4 books all sitting right in front of me, but I have the one that I was reading from this morning, which is the Lessons of St. Francis, just learning to be a better person. And then my meditations were, from the Wayne Dyer collection this morning. So what you're describing has become part of my lifestyle. Another part of my lifestyle is daily affirmations, reading mind mastery cards that Matt Hubbard put together. I mean, they sit here on my desk, and as you said, they never get put away. Why? Because it's a ritual. And so often when I'm speaking to younger docs or people who don't have rituals, they say, well, I don't have rituals because I like to have a flexible lifestyle. And so I'm not committed to doing it exactly at the same time. And my line to them, and I'm going to ask you to reflect on that one and share what your thoughts are on this, is my line to them is, the more you're scheduled, the more flexibility you create to have the life that you want to have.
Yeah.
What do you think about that statement? How does it apply in your life?
It is, I'll share, one of the things, and it's over there, but I have a composition book that I keep, and it stays with me all the time. It's just one of those black and white composition books. And as I go through my life, whether I'm, speaking with my wife, whether I'm speaking with my team, whether I just got back from a run and I got some really great ideas on my run, everything goes in my composition. I may be at a seminar and I'm taking notes. I may be, again, I just got done a run. I had a great idea for a solution for a problem that I'm having. It all goes into my notebook. And then those ideas get scheduled into my calendar because I know that I have limited time, limited resource in terms of time. And if I have, like you said, if it's not scheduled, I'm going to rethink these problems over and over again because I haven't scheduled time into my life to solve that problem, to reflect on that problem. So I think when you do have, you could call it a rigid schedule, but I just call it sanity, is not having to, they say learning is remembering. And if you're not remembering your issues and having time to solve them, you're going to have to re-remember them, and that creates chaos, So I think the more, I think you can build in flexibility time into that schedule too. So you build in time to say, okay, this is my CEO time, this is my creative time, this is my time just to go out and do whatever I want to do. But that gets scheduled into your calendar.
It's interesting, because we didn't plan this call, we didn't plan the questions, we were just having a conversation. When you talk about a conversation book, that's what I reached out on the corner of my desk to take mine out. I didn't call it a composition book before. I just basically call it a journal where I actually write down the things that come to mind that are important. And so what I'm discovering, the more of these interviews I do, the more I'm discovering that those of us who are seen at the outside world as being successful, whatever success means to whoever is looking at that definition, but certainly from our perspective at living a chiropractic lifestyle, everyone that I'm talking to actually has a set of rituals. Everyone has a composition book. Everybody has a time to reflect, to think, to meditate, to pray, to do whatever you want to call it. Every one of us has a time to eat well, and every one of us has a scheduled time to actually exercise, and every one of us has a scheduled time to actually get checked and adjusted when needed. Why can't everybody do that? Becomes a question, doesn't it? And usually because they don't schedule it. So a big piece of what we're working on with the Life Vision Project, and of course the Life Vision Seminar, wanting our spring event to be, the signature event for chiropractic on the East Coast, is to actually help doctors discover exactly what you're sharing, so that they get to live their life vision. Not Dane's life vision, not Jill's life vision, that everyone would get to live their life vision, that their teams would come with them, that their families would come with them, and that together we build a strong network of chiropractic professionals that are willing to get together, work together to impact humanity. How does that fit your life vision?
So I want to share with you one of the books that I just finished reading. And this book is called The Evolution of Medicine. And it's written by a guy named James Maskell, Dr. Gilles. And he's an economist. He's not a medical doctor. And he's worked with doctors on the future of medical practice, because what he's learned is that medical doctors are absolutely miserable. They have the highest rate of suicide. They work more hours. They're not content. They don't feel like they have economic control over their future. And he's trying to, with these doctors, create a model practice that is a functional medicine practice. Now, we would call it a functional wellness or functional chiropractic practice, but he's identified in working with these doctors for over a decade as an economist from a business standpoint, okay, not from a philosophical, what is going to be the best model for your business going forward, okay? He has identified a 4P model, and I want to share it with you because when I heard it, I'm like, we are so positioned in chiropractic to really meet this 4P model in healthcare, the way healthcare is going, the way the puck is going. The first one is it's got to be predictive. We've got to help patients predict their future. You've got to have tools to help people predict not when they're in a crisis, but before they get to the crisis. Because over 70% of healthcare dollars and resources are spent on chronic preventable diseases, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. These are lifestyle diseases. We've got to help people predict their future. The second thing, it needs to be preventative. We need to have preventative, behavior-driven model of healthcare where, like you said, doctor means teacher. We're not just treating our patients, but we're teaching them preventative solutions to their healthcare. The third thing is it needs to be personalized, okay? We've got to personalize. Everybody is different, and people don't want a one-size-fits-all model of healthcare. So how do you personalize the experience for the patient so that they feel like you're meeting their needs, not a herd mentality?
Wellness score.
The wellness score is the way that you personalize that based on what their needs are. Not everybody's going to have the same needs. For example, with the wellness score, and you mentioned it, there's 4 categories. There's a neurospinal category of health. There's a functional fitness model, right, or category. There's a biochemical category, and there's a general health category. Well, some people are going to show up and their functional fitness is off the charts. Their nutrition's off the charts. They eat paleo. They look great. But then you look at their neurospinal category of health, and they're really suffering. They don't get adjusted. They're subluxated. They have chronic degenerative changes in their spine. So we know that person in this category of their health is doing good. But in this category, they're different. So they need to be personalized. Their care plan needs to be personalized for them. They may not need your help with nutrition and exercise, but they need your help with chiropractic care. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So it needs to be personalized. And then the last P is that it needs to be predictive, right? So the 4P model, it needs to be predictive, it needs to be personalized, it needs to be preventative, and then the 4th P, it's just escaping me, it needs to be, it's escaping me, and I'll have to get back to that.
Can you show the audience the book again? Because I wrote down The Evolution of Medicine, but you said James Maskell?
James Maskell.
Okay. Because, of course, as soon as you talked about it, what did I do? I grabbed my book, right?
And wrote it down.
Well, because when I open it at that page, I've got my next task is to actually order the book.
Right.
That's how you and I create a life of ease, by being ready to deal with situations like that we don't have to force ourselves to remember it. It's in my composition book.
Yeah, and the fourth P just came to me. It's got to be participatory.
Yes, makes sense.
Okay. So it's predictive, it's preventative, it's personalized, and participatory. In other words, gone are the days where you just hand somebody a script. It's their health. They've got to take responsibility and accountability for their health. So you've got to participate. It's got to be a team mentality. Now, when I read the book, Dr. Gilles, I'm like, we are so positioned for the future. We already have a model in chiropractic that's predictive, that's preventive, that's participatory, right? That's personalized. So how do we create this operational system in our practices? Because if we do that, that's what people want.
And this has been the quickest 30 minutes I've had go on in my life for a long time. I mean, we're at almost 31 minutes of this interview, and I know I promised you a 30-minute in and out. So on that note, I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your thoughts, your years of experience with our audience. And I want to invite the entire audience to come to Life Vision on April 21st, 22nd, and get an hour or two of listening to you from the stage, so that they can truly understand that they can discover their life vision and they can get the tools to live their life vision and impact humanity the way they want to impact humanity. So on that note, love and appreciate you, Dr. Dane. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule today to share with the Life Vision Project, and look forward to staying connected and together, working together, 1,000 or more chiropractors, we can change the face of healthcare from this day forward.
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at Life Vision and just connecting with we all have these common interests and these common problems. And so, let's come to Life Vision. Let's come together as a family and let's support one another. Let's start acting as a profession that truly cares about one another. That's how we're going to move this thing forward.